Welcome, everyone. My name is Sue Landay. I'm the president of Trainers Warehouse. And today during Show and Share, we're talking about buzzers, game show buzzers, why we use them, how to use them, and when they're most effective. And today I've put together just kind of a quick PowerPoint to introduce some products that we might be talking about. And I have a few ideas on my own, but I'd really love to, when the time comes, have people share their videos if they're comfortable and share their ideas and their experiences, both positive and negative, so that we can kind of pool the information and learn from one another. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and share this PowerPoint. And I think you can see it now, right? Yes, I'm seeing some nods. Okay. So we have two buzzers and they're beside me. There's who's first and me first. The one that's missing from here that in terms of game show buzzers that you might also have seen are buzzers that just play a sound. Like, it's sort of like an easy button. That was easy. Remember those? And uh there are some that are just like a bing bing or a buzz or an animal sound. And the reason those can be challenging is that it's really difficult if two buzzers are hit within a fraction of a second to know which one was hit first. And as a trainer, you really want to be able to focus on your content, not on the logistics of the game, figuring out who rang in first. You don't want people arguing about it. So these buzzers have grown pretty popular. And let me just take a second to ask people if you can like either show a thumbs up. I'm going to stop the share for a second. Who has either used these or knows about them so that I just kind of have a sense. I'm looking at the gallery. If you can give me a, okay, so I'm seeing like, all right, maybe about half of us or more have seen them. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how they differ. If you want to see demos of them in particular, maybe you can like put it in the chat. I won't spend a ton of time because I want to talk about how we're using them rather than how they work, but I could probably do that pretty quickly. So send me a chat if you want to see either of them in action. So who's first with the light tower is great for team play because it's not a handheld buzzer where you have to just like do something with your thumb. You can have a couple of people sitting around the table and all access this. So it's really good for team play. The lights and colors make it fun. And in addition to seeing who came in first, I'm just going to show this to you at the top. It's not at the top anymore. On the back, there's this mode where it says standard or random. So right now in standard mode, I can see who rang in first. But if I'm going to press the reset up here. If I move this to random, basically I can just pick a team at random. So that's one of the things this is good for. Me first, on the other hand, each player gets one of these pads. So it's a little bit better for individual play. When someone does ring in, one light only turns green, and you can also track the most correct answers. And at the end of the game, kind of press and hold the right answer button, and it'll indicate who got the most answers right. Another interesting thing is about, and we should talk about this a little bit more when we're talking about how we're applying and using them. It allows you to block out players who have previously responded. So let's say you have, there's one person who keeps tapping the button and they're always first. You can choose to hit, instead of reset everybody, hit the continue button, and that will let it be so that that one person is blocked out and everyone else gets to answer. And you could keep going that way. So everyone's had a chance before you reset for everyone. Make sense? Okay. So game considerations. The first thing as you consider, what to do and how to use it is, what is your goal? Are you trying to introduce material? Are you quizzing players to reinforce learning, accumulating points, and figuring out a winning team? You just want to kind of create some energy and fun. Do you want everybody to play, teams to play? Do you want reps? And all of these considerations are going to affect how you facilitate your game and how you structure it, basically. So some different formats. I have a couple of links at the bottom, which I've asked Sarah to throw in the chat. And so some of this information I'm drawing on a test that a 7th grade science teacher ran with some of the Me First buzzers. So these individual ones. And he kind of came away and with a bunch of tips based on some tests that he did that I think are kind of interesting. So with these 7th graders, like everyone was so excited to play that they just everyone was kind of hitting their buzzers, and it was a little bit of pandemonium until he figured out kind of how to control it. And he came up with these tips. So this first, a firsthand experience are some of these notes, which I'm going to just kind of throw a few of them out right now. But he said, it's helpful to throw a few practice questions out first and to let every student, get their buzzer, reset, everyone have a chance to tap it to make sure that their buzzer is working. Because you don't want to be sidetracked by the technology. You want to be able to focus on your content. So that was one important tip. He also suggested setting ground rules so that if people try to buzz in before a question is fully asked, what are the repercussions for that? How do you want to handle that? Because you want it to be a positive experience, not a frustrating one. And more about frustration. There are, because there are so many buzzers, like let's say you have 12 students, you really want each person to be able to have an opportunity to accumulate points. So one of the challenges with a lot of players can be, and again, this depends on your group and the nature of your group and what you're doing and your content and everything else. But if your goal is to sort of have people feel success, think about how you can structure it so that each person has an opportunity to really feel like they're participating. So after kind of playing around with this, the science teacher said, let me try to just have team buzzers. So again, limiting the number of points and people feeling part of a team and they're working together. Another rendition he did is he had sort of Family Feud style with just 2 buzzers, but 2 teams of people, and they would, he'd line people up, and the players who were at the front of the line would be the ones to tap. And so all of the students had an opportunity to play in that way. Make sense? Okay. So, all right. Questions, comments, let's just sort of take it from there And yeah, either ask me questions, unmute yourselves, show your faces, put them in chat. There's one other thing while you're kind of putting those things together. And there's another product that I have behind me. It's actually in this bag, and these are the answer boards. And what's interesting about these is, considering that idea of how to get everyone to play, is there are times when you might not want the game to be so rapid. You want to give people an opportunity to think about their answers and process before, so it's not just the quick thinkers who have an opportunity to play. And so if that's your goal, then, maybe you throw the buzzers aside and you do something else. So they definitely have a specific purpose, and it is how you use them. So which buzzers do I prefer? Shanna asks. Is it Shanna or Shanna? I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong.
It's Shanna like banana.
Shanna like banana. All right. Thank you. um, I I really feel like it depends on what the application is. If I were playing a Jeopardy game, and whether I'm using my Jeopardy game to introduce new content or to reinforce content at the end, then I like the fun and the light of the buzzers. But I think also that there are times when you just kind of want to add a little touch of fun and energy, and having those individual buzzers, if you're not playing a whole structured game, is also really fun. And I think that sort of that informality of the me first buzzers is kind of is fun also. I don't know, does that answer your question? Um, but you all, I got a bunch of thumbs up of people who were either familiar with or have used the buzzers. Actually, while we're talking, I'm going to turn these on just in case we need them. So as my on off button on me first, and then I'm going to press and hold the on off on each of these. Do any of you who have used the buzzers, do you have preferences?
The only set that we have that I know of are the me first buzzers, and that's what we use for our Jeopardy review game quite often. And the classes seem to enjoy it because even though they're on their teams, everybody on the team is trying to be the one to buzz in. So it's been pretty fun. They usually have a good reaction to that to review.
Okay. Any challenges that you faced with it?
Some people swear that we turn their buzzers off, and so we explain that there's not a way for me to do that, and it like when your buzzer resets, I we explain the different colors, but to usually help us avoid that problem, we always test them out first and make sure everybody's buzzes in and works correctly so that they can't really complain. It's usually just joking, I feel like half the time.
But still, you want to take it seriously. And if you, again, it's kind of managing frustration and eliminating
Absolutely.
that, right? Yeah. What other experiences have you had? Positive, negative. What's worked, what hasn't worked?
So I've only used the Me First as well, and I love them. I think the s- the example you said the teacher said about setting ground rules. I used it in a we had a company party and did it in facilitating some game stuff. And one of the things everybody wants to buzz in first, and what happens is when you buzz in and you get people who are kind of can game the system and know how to buzz in quickly. So the rule I put into place was if you buzzed in, you had to have the answer to the question immediately. Otherwise, you lost points. And so if the point value was 100 points, soon as your team buzzed, I would look for your answer. And if there was any pause or hesitation, you'd get docked 100 points. And so what that caused is it caused the people, and they were like teams of four, it caused the people to hold the other people on their team accountable. Like, don't be clicking the buzzer if you don't have an answer. And then
Oh,
it made it more fair because people would get time to think about it, like, do we really want to buzz in? Do we know the answer or not? And that kind of helped it go along really well. So I love the fact of the option of if someone gets the wrong answer, how you can they're locked out until you reset to allow everybody else to come back in, because that way you can keep the question out there going. If Nora buzzes in and she gets it wrong, now everybody else still has an opportunity, and Nora can't buzz in again until I reset it. So that I think that's great. So it's been a game changer for me in sessions that I do. I love them. I haven't had a chance to get the who's first yet, because economical reasons. It's one or the
I
other.
hear
So I
you.
went with me first.
I hear you. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that tip of there really being a repercussion for that. Who else? Have you used them? Is it mostly for reinforcement, or do you use them like just kind of at the end of a session, or do you bring them into use earlier?
For me personally, in the places where I've used it's been kind of like a mix between it's either like kind of like an ending activity because of the time it takes me to set it up.
Mm,
I don't think I've not had I did it like a conference presentation where I kind of built it in where it was like a competition. That the session that I was doing in the conference was a competition session. And so in order to know who fit, like people had a challenge that they had to do in a software system. And once they finished it, they had to buzz in. And that was a way for me to kind of know who did it first versus trying to keep watching as to who finished first. They would buzz in. And so that was the only time I've done it where it was throughout the course of an entire session. But typically for me, it's been at the end, only because of the time it takes to kind of get everything set up, make sure all the buzzers are working and everything.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Excellent. And I'm sorry, Nora, you've raised your hand, but one other question, Brandon. How many people have been using it kind of at once?
So at the highest, it was for about 50 people because I had to break them down into teams of
Mhm.
four to
Okay.
share one buzzer because I only have the 12 buzzers. So I broke them down into teams of four. So, but I've used it with up to 50 people, but just
Oh, great.
now four people to a team.
Got it. Oh, great. Good to hear that. Yeah. Thank you. Nora, yes, please.
I must be old school. These are the ones that I have. They have your logo on them, so they've got to be yours. But
Oh, we can't hear them because I think that it blocks out. So yes, those are just the sound buzzers which aren't electronically linked to one another. So yes, they're going to sound a noise, but have you used them? And
I
how
use
have
them.
you?
I use them all the time just to get people moving. They're funny.
Yep.
If you couldn't hear those sounds, one's a whistle, one's a toot toot, one's a bling, and there's a train, a bling, a buzz. The tightener I put on it, what I try to do is get people to be there in teams, and I'm trying to get them to know where to go in the system or in their training tools when they want to actually know an answer. So the way I play it is I put the prompt out of the thing they're looking for. Everyone at the table has to be turned to that place in their manual before someone can ring the buzzer. And then as soon as they ring the buzzer, I run over and I look. And if everyone's manual isn't open to the correct page, they didn't win. We're moving on. So it's one of the ways I do a tightener on it is that everyone has to agree. It's sort of like Brandon does, only I have a visual. Are they there or not? Did they get to the right place or not? The thing about any of these buzzer things is, they almost feel like they're playing a game. You almost trick them into think they're playing a game, and it just lightens it up. It lightens it up. It isn't a serious test. It isn't anything like that. It's just fun. It just makes it a little bit funnier. A little bit. Those people who like competition, it jazzes it up for them. That's all. What
Energy.
any of the tools, it boosts energy, gives them a chance to go do something they love, and then I have to pull them off the tables. Otherwise, throughout the rest of the day, bam, someone's hitting one of the train toots or the bus, and I don't care. I don't care. It amuses me. So I think any of the buzzers are music. Any way to get people feel like they're playing while they're learning, I think, is a win.
Great, great. Rob, can you share a little bit about how you have used those sound buzzers also?
Much less structured than everybody's talking about. Typically, we have a class of 4 tables, and each one of those buzzers goes on the table, and then we just use them as a like Nora was saying, they've got boing or train sounds or whatever. It is partly humor, but it's also the first sound you hear. That's a table we go to if a question is being asked or answered. So it's not sophisticated, but it adds an element of excitement.
Interesting. So, although we haven't been selling recently those exact buzzers that you have, Nora, it's learning resources, right, Sarah? I think so. Learning Resources continues to have those sound buzzers that are just a variety, like Nora said, of different sounds. Like it's a buzz, it's a train, it's a whatever. But they also have a set of animal sounds, which we're reluctant to sell, and I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on this, because we're always are, and maybe to a fault, like so concerned with finding this balance of fun and professionalism, that we thought, okay, are people going to just feel like these animal sounds are too wonky and it doesn't make you feel professional enough? But maybe just that humor is fine. It's probably just how you present it, right?
If they can't laugh about a funny sound, you got bigger problems on your table
Send
than
'em
that.
home.
we gotta lighten it up a little bit, folks. So I can see they go over really big in elementary school and bully for that, but I work with adults and they'll still laugh. They laugh at the train. They laugh. They want to. Sometimes they get up and go and they hit another tables because they like that sound better. It doesn't matter. It's the engagement. It's the involvement. It's the having a little bit of fun here while we're doing serious work, learning serious work.
Great, great. Well, and I also love the idea of using these buzzers to indicate when you're done or when you're ready, or that it's not just a competition, it's not a frustrating experience, which was always our concern about those. So that's helpful for me as well to hear these ideas and just the variety of ways that you can use them.
I want to say one more thing, which is when the table sounds, everyone in the room turns to the sound. If you're having someone raise a hand, if they know the answer, you're almost the only one, only the people right in front of you see that. But the rest of the room doesn't know who's going to answer until that person starts talking. But when there's a sound, all the other groups turn and look at that table that sounded off. So it's a way to focus, harness the attention on who's going to be speaking next. So it's good for that as well.
Excellent. See a lot of nods. Thank you. All right. Any other experiences to share, or any places you've run into trouble, things that you'd like to try, questions you'd like to ask one another? I have a lot of wisdom in this group right now.
So, Susan, with the who's first buzzers, how does that like with the random deal you had going,
Yeah.
you just hit a button and it stops on.
Yes. So either I can use the facilitator remote or the button on the top, one of the tricks about these buzzers, and if you've used them, is that the little feet on here, I don't know if you can see them, these little feet are actually, when you hit it, those are being depressed. And that's, so if I'm holding this in my hand and I just like press one of these feet, which is what I just,
Oh, okay.
so if you're holding it in your palm,
Okay.
okay? So again, I'm just, let's see, pressing any one of those little feet.
Now, with that one, so it looks like you have what, two, four, is it six colors
Six
in
colors.
possible? So
Yeah,
so that's really the most you could do like that. And that's another thing I like about the Me First is like if you do buy another set, you could configure it or have it such that now you've gone from 12 buzzers to 24 because they could still tie into that main hub. So that's another thing I like about the Me First ones.
appreciate that. Yes, very true. Very true. Thank you. What other questions or suggestions do we have? You're also welcome to write them if you don't feel like.
I have a
Yes,
question.
please, Lynn.
I have a question that actually is a little off topic. But I was reading one of your emails, and is there a spinning wheel that's on sale? A big spinning wheel?
There is a big spinning wheel. So I'm going to do another screen share. Actually, give me just 1 second to,
Find it on the website, but I didn't know if it
yeah.
was correctly.
So, okay, I'm going to share here. Prize wheel.
Or is it which one?
So we have, let's see.
And will it condense kind of small? Because I don't have that much space to store it all year long.
Okay, so we've been trying to just kind of, clear out our warehouse a little bit. And we noticed that we had 4 huge boxes. So this may not be the one for you, Lynn, but that are like this 12 pocket, a couple of them were the 18 pocket. They're really quite large. They were open boxes that were probably returned to us, I'm guessing 10 or 15 years ago. And they've just been sitting there and we haven't kind of figured out a way to, to get them into hands of people who can use them because, we haven't, they look like they're an open box. And so we've wanted to just sell new product to people. So I think we still have like 2 in the warehouse right now that we're just selling for $50 plus the cost of shipping, which can be, $60, $75, but it's still a pretty good deal.
Okay.
So these are the ones that we mentioned.
And is it dry erase or what's?
So this is, let me see.
You decorate it with
A
whatever you
video
want.
on it. There's like little plastic covers in here and you slide a piece of paper into the wedges, and there's software that goes along with them so that you have the size of those wedges. That said, because this is like a plasticky sort of surface, you could just put blank colored paper in there and write on these with a dry erase marker.
Okay. I'll take that, please.
Okay. Well, I'll email you. I'll email you later.
Okay, I'll put my email in the chat.
Okay. And so the other one, but like I said, that is big. We also have the, let me just go
Or I
back
won't
here.
decide which one I want, I guess.
So the ones that are smaller are this, because those are 31 inches.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll see if we have one that converts, table to floor model. These are just the table model that's 24 inches wide. So if you just sort of need a smaller footprint, that's probably a better choice for you.
And how much are those?
This is not on sale, so this is the $95.
Oh, okay. I'll do the $50 one.
Okay. Good, you're helping us out. Yes, Sherry, the light tower does indicate a first and second place responder. Does anyone use that? Good question. Anybody? No. Okay. I think that it comes in handy if, as Brandon says, there's one team that didn't have the answer. So instead of having people try to buzz in again, you have someone, a second place team to go to right away. And so that would be the advantage of that. Yeah. And Shelby, okay. I've got you too. So I'm going to email you guys both because I'm going to need to get payment for the shipping and addresses and stuff like that. So I or one of my colleagues will be in touch with you. All right. We're just at 12:30. So let me do one final ask and see if there are any more questions. Anything else? All right. Well, let me say my formal thank you to everyone for sharing your ideas. Hope this was helpful. I certainly got a few tips myself, which I am appreciative of. So thanks and have a great rest of your day.